on that
mixing up
list.
those numbers.
He sort of like a cube deck a little bit.
A little bit.
Looks a little cubey.
He does have access to 2 Lilion and 2 Garruk as his planeswalkers for big game. Also, Rakdos' returning to the main decks of Jund. Good to see. As far as creatures, he's leaning on Huntmaster, Thragtusk, and Olivia exclusively. He has no other ones in the main deck.
So Isaac on the right and Jeff on the left with Jund. I think normally I would take, and we're off. Lance has got a Rootbound Crag, Jeff with a Woodland Cemetery, and see Lance with...
Turn late on the mountain there?
Yep, and Stromkirk Noble and Rakdos Cackler Unleashed. So, not turn 1, but it works.
Jeff has no Farseek, and he has a Searing Spear but no red mana is what it looks like.
Yeah, I see a Searing Spear, I see a flip card, which would be a Huntmaster, and we're going to see a Stomping Grounds from Lance come down. Those 2 creatures are, well, one of them is going to get in.
Ultimate Price takes out Stromkirk Noble.
And we'll see
Rakdos
what
Cackler
Lance follows it up with.
Another Noble. Looks like he's sitting on a Pillar of Flame and something else, perhaps a Hell Rider?
And there's the Farseek for Jeff, which pretty important. It'll probably get him a red source. I see at least 1 flip card, possibly 2.
I think I seen a Abrupt Decay, an Olivia, and a flip card, and then another card I can't see. I think a Blood Crypt, so...
Farseek and pass, not ideal, but he did gain access to red mana that turn, so pretty important.
Ooh, if that is a Hell Rider in Lance's hand, the 4th land he just drew is going to enable it. And that's going to be real rough for Jeff.
It's hard to see exactly what it is, but if it is, I imagine we'll see it in a couple seconds.
Short order, yep.
Yeah.
That's 4 mana.
I have a feeling it could be. Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Oh, that's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9, and this Noble is going to get bigger. And a Blood Crypt, it looks like. Not the ideal land here.
You have to take the 2, I imagine.
Yeah.
Passing. I guess we're going with Searing Spear and Abrupt Decay this turn is the line.
Okay. Well, I mean, he'll go to 5 if nothing else happens. You know, Huntmaster could do some work here. Searing Spear takes out the Hell Rider, Abrupt Decay takes out Stromkirk Noble before it can get too much bigger. And Jeff does go down to 5. So, dangerous life total.
Yeah, especially considering the red decks used to pack Brimstone Volley. I think Saito has actually sort of trended people away from that. Once you start seeing, especially cards like Burning Share Emissary, you feel a lot safer. I like how they probably just copied Saito's list, not running their 1.
Yeah, Lance has 4 Pillar and 4 Pillar of Flame and 4 Searing Spear. So not a ton of burn, and that Huntmaster is going to put Jeff up to 7 and provide 2 blockers.
Yeah, we've got the Cavern on Beast there for Thragtusk. Yeah, if Lance doesn't muster up something like another Hell Rider soon, he might actually be in a lot of trouble.
Ash Zealot's pretty good, and Pillar.
Pillar will take care of the Huntmaster.
Couple of cheap spells later, and Lance looks like he's going to get in for 4 here. Dropping Jeff to 3.
And just a Thragtusk to take back control if he can find one.
Land.
Looks like it's Olivia.
Yep. Olivia, which will let him block and go to 1 if Lance doesn't have anything.
Literally nothing is what we're looking for here.
And see a block on the Emissary. Olivia is really a card that could take this game over if Lance doesn't draw those 8 burn spells that he has access to. A little less now, because I think he's cast a Pillar of Flame.
Popping Olivia up to 4/4 in the end step. Almost forgot, but we remembered.
Alright.
drawing. He can deal with this board, but he needs to get off 1 life in a hurry.
And passing the turn. So Olivia can get very.
That's strange. He's just going in and upkeep killing the Ash Cell, it looks like. That's like the worst time to kill it if you were actually fearing a spell of some variety. It triggers Morbid. Obviously, Brimstone Volley would kill us anyway, but just.
You could be worried about some sort of instant speed pump. I'm not sure.
Lance had no cards in hand, so like, there's just no reason. Like the upkeep seems strictly inferior.
Thragtusk?
Thragtusk, all right.
Oh boy.
That might be enough to clean this game up for Jeff. A 6-point buffer from death.
Yeah, Olivia also going to be able to take out most things that Lance could play. Either take them out or just outright take them.
If Jeff draws a land, then Lance will just be losing basically his entire board.
Okay.
Boros Reckoner, okay.
I don't think Lance is... I mean, it's good.
I don't think it's enough. Worth noting is Boros Reckoner does not redirect damage. It just creates a separate packet, so Olivia's stuff works. It's a point of confusion on occasion.
Huh, okay.
But in this case, Olivia is just going to be able to basically deal 1 damage to Jeff, I assume.
I think we might see Lance try to take the Boros Reckoner. Looks like he was setting his mana up like that.
No, Jeff, yeah.
Oh, Jeff, yeah, Jeff.
I assume he has to just take 1 and steal the Boros Reckoner. After all, he can't block it especially effectively.
Yeah, his creatures are a little too big to block. And I think that might have been a Hellrider.
If it was, then...
Oh boy.
Oof.
So...
This is interesting. Entering combat.
Yeah. Hold up there. So we're going to at least... I'd imagine we're either going to see the Hellrider get 3 damage or get taken.
Yeah.
Probably take it.
I think we have to take it.
Nope, just...
No, just kill it.
Alright.
I think we definitely should have taken it there.
So... He could take it, right? Yeah, he could definitely take it.
Yeah, he has the mana to do it. I mean, perhaps he's just trying to get his Olivia up to be able to swing his opponent dead in 2 turns, but the Hellrider would have been a pretty good help for that, too.
Yeah, and I think here only the Reckoner needed to come in. Realistically, because he wasn't going to block the Reckoner.
Right, he was going to take 3 damage either way.
Yeah.
So we did just throw away our Burning Tree Emissaries, which is pretty awkward. So Jeff on 3 life.
Lance on 20, but that doesn't exactly tell the story of this match right now.
No. Right now, this match is pretty much Lance can draw... I guess a Searing Spear is basically his only out. If he had preserved those emissaries, then theoretically a Hellrider could be an out if Jeff tapped low enough to make a 3rd Hellrider lethal. Jeff looking for Thragtusk above all else, and Abrupt Decay is like a secondary. And what else we got? We've got some live ones. Dreadbore. Liliana of the Veil would have been fine. Devour Flesh would have been very good. He probably would have targeted himself.
Even Rakdos Return might have let him...
attack for lethal with
just
burnout?
1 short.
Just 1 short, 9, 14. Yep. Could only get him for 19.
Not bad, though.
Not bad!
19, not bad.
Boros Reckoner coming in.
Yeah, this is...
I think if we have nothing else, we just have to like put Thragtusk in front and then kill our own Thragtusk, right?
Yeah, it does seem like... Oh, he has a Devour Flesh?
Never
mind.
Wow,
that's...
we should have attacked with that Olivia, probably, I think.
Yeah?
Not a lot kills us if we have the Devour Flesh.
That leaves him pretty open to...
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I feel like this... the Devour Flesh maybe should have been used a little more defensively. But we'll see how it ends up. Olivia is going to get bigger here, and Devour Flesh, I believe, can be used to target yourself.
Yes, you can definitely target yourself with it. Doing a little math, he wanted to see if he could get the kill. He has 4 more damage available.
Yeah, he can at least increase the Olivia by 2.
I actually think he had it this turn. He could put the Olivia to 13, attack with Thragtusk is 18. He has a Pillar of Flame in the hand for 20.
Okay. For some reason, Lance is at 23. I'm trying to figure out how...
Oh, the Devour Flesh.
Oh, Devour
Yeah,
Flesh,
we forgot
right.
the Devour Flesh, because we were assuming we target ourselves.
Yeah.
Not Lance. But yep, so we wound up a little shy, but yeah, Jeff takes one from up against the wall for a long series of turns there.
Yeah, he was definitely on the back foot for most of that match, and Olivia pretty much took it over completely.
That was actually a pretty incredible game just for the Jund player, keeping on the draw with no Farseek, and we didn't have removal. Well, we had the ultimate price on turn 2, but then we had to, take a Shockland hit on turn 4.
Yeah, Shockland hit, had to get a red source off Farseek with no land drop.
Yep.
He was definitely very far behind. An impressive comeback there. Thragtusk helps a little.
Now, if Lance had opened on Mountain instead of Rootbound Crag, just had those 2 cards switched around, probably just completely different story.
Yeah, lots more damage. Stromkirk Noble gets bigger, faster. The Cackler gets in there more. So,
moving over to the sideboard, Jeff has mostly more of the same. Whatever cards he has in his main deck, he's got a couple more copies of some specialized ones. The big ones in this matchup, I imagine, to be is additional 2 copies of Pillar of Flame. Rolling Templar is going to come in. Probably Barter in Blood. And maybe Liliana the Veil. I'm not sure if he wants a third one, as she's not especially powerful, but she does do some damage. As for boarding out, I imagine his Rakdos' returns will leave pretty quickly. Staff of Nin, probably don't need that. And trim down on Olivia, if not, get rid of her completely, I imagine. Probably go down to 2, though, I think, just because he's a very creature-light version of Jund. He can't really afford to get rid of every threat.
Right. On Lance's side, he's got Graph Digger's Cage that probably won't come in. Blasphemous Act that I also don't see coming in. 4 copies of Skullcrack to sort of counter part of Thragtusk. I think he'll bring those in. I mean, if you're not bringing them in against Thragtusk, I don't know when you are. Sphinx's Revelation, but
I imagine
Thragtusk
those are
is
just strictly
huge.
better than Pillar of Flame in this matchup. Huntmaster is pretty beatable considering how many spells you're casting, and they can't afford to pass turn. But
yeah, you're hoping that they're not gonna be able to play Huntmaster and not have to walk with it.
Right.
He's got 3 copies of Mizium Mortars, which, similar situation. Is he really going to want to use that on a Huntmaster? Is he going to be happy if the game gets to the point where he can overload that? Probably not. 4 Volcanic Strength, which is not great against all of the removal that Jeffrey has, but the Mountain Walk is definitely interesting. Letting him get through Huntmaster, letting him get through Thragtusk.
It's interesting, I think, because there are 2 schools of Jund, and I think the Volcanic Strengths are much better against the ones that run a lot more creatures, especially Vampire Nighthawk, where Volcanic Strength just lets you slide right through those guys. Pretty good, but obviously Jeff's not running that list, and it's hard to say if Lance has seen enough cards to make that kind of a prediction. He may be used to not citing in Volcanic Strength, he may be used to bringing it in. We can't really tell just sitting here.
Yeah, I think, it is hard to say. I think I would be tempted to bring in a couple of Volcanic Strengths in this situation. I don't know if I'd bring in all 4 though.
That would probably be a little bold.
Yeah, bringing in 1 or 2 though. Maybe the things he has to cut. I'm not actually a huge fan of Hellrider in this matchup. I think it's expensive and vulnerable to ultimate price and Searing Spear. It gets around Abrupt Decay, but I feel like if you have a bunch of creatures to make Hellrider good, you just want more cheap stuff.
Sure.
Not being able to cast Hellrider on 4 seems really potentially bad. So.
And obviously, dodging Abrupt Decay is not that big a deal for this deck, considering like every other creature in the deck dies to it. So it's like, oh man, I can't kill that Hellrider. Well, what will I do with this spell?
Right.
I guess I'll just point it at that guy.
It's very unlikely that Lance will have a board that Jeff can't interact with using Abrupt Decay. So
I agree that at least trimming on Hellrider, if not cutting down to 1 or 2 copies, is probably completely fine. And Volcanic Strength, at a minimum, will represent a similar amount of damage, probably, to Hellrider, depending on when and where you land it.
Yeah. And it's cheaper, so you don't risk not being able to cast it on 4.
Yep. We did just see Lance keep a very land-light hand that wound up working out, but mostly because he drew 3 running lands and curved out. You know, if one of those wasn't there, the Hellrider comes down a turn later, completely different game.
Yeah, definitely. So we see
Skullcrack.
I think, yeah, that is a Skullcrack. A couple of mountains.
See a Reckoner as well in the back there. So
yeah, maybe a little bit of a slower hand from Lance.
You see no 1-drop, but this deck can definitely make up for it if it's got one of its explosive starts on 2 with the Burning Tree Emissary into anything else. I see a Burning Tree Emissary.
I think we are going to see that. And is he going to do anything with the mana? Another Burning Tree Emissary, and I think I saw a Hellrider there.
Yeah, I think I saw a Hellrider as well.
He's left in some number of those.
Note he declined to Skullcrack there, going for hoping to stop the Thragtusk rather than just getting in his Lava Spike. Probably correct.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. Probably going to see a Reckoner here and in for 2. It's a fairly good start for Lance, I'd say. You know, not the fastest, but
if you're going to start with no 1-drop, you might as well start with this hand.
Like, with 2 2-drops.
Yeah.
Nothing on 1, everything on 2. Just a pass from Jeff, so we'll see if he has anything. Looks like a Huntmaster, Staff of Nin. Looks like a Garruk Primal Hunter. Did I see a Garruk Primal Hunter?
Yeah, he has Garruk Primal Hunter. I'm pretty sure he has one in his hand as well.
And right on time, Hellrider for a ton of damage.
This connects. That's real bad for
11?
Jeff.
Is that 11 damage?
Yeah, that is 11.
And
assuming we made all of our treasures.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the situation we were talking about, where Huntmaster comes down and it's going to gain 2 and it's going to make some blockers, but it's not going to take over the game. Like, Jeff is just going to have to throw it away to stay alive. So you see Lance draw a Searing Spear and the Skullcrack he had earlier.
Yeah, they represent
are going to be enough.
Huntmaster here, Wolf here.
See where Jeff blocks before.
Now, important to note is Lance should use the spear to not alert his opponent to the presence of Skullcrack.
Yep, and he does. Yep. So, well played by Lance. You know, real fast draw. Jeff didn't put up much resistance, and nice play at the end there to hide that information. And they're going to game 3 after that game probably took a minute or 2.
Yeah. I imagine Jeff learned a lesson there where basically you need more than just the 1 removal spell before you're curving into your 4s in this matchup. Maybe a Farseek can make up for it, especially now that he's on the play. A Farseek is much more powerful than tapping out and passing turn with an extra land. But you really need to be interacting on basically every turn.
On the draw, having a high number of 4 and 5 drops like he did, and a 6 drop like he did in that hand, it's hard to hard to assume you're going to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. So yeah, we'll see what kind of what he can put together in this next game. If he can stop that early aggression, if he can get out ahead of it with Farseek and being on the play. And Jeff is done with Magic.
Oh, grabbing it back.
He changed his mind. Nobody quits forever. He quit for like 10 seconds at most.
It's true what they say. You know, those hands I think are actually among the tougher to mulligan in the game of Magic. You know, when you've got like 3 or 4 spells, 3 or 4 lands, but they're the wrong spells or the wrong lands, and you're kind of tempted to keep them. And in many cases they will pan out, obviously. Like, you can just draw your way in. But especially in matchups where your opponent's playing a deck that does not give you time to rectify what your hand's lacking, it's really just dangerous to keep those hands.
Yeah, if you miss, you know, it's not the case where your opponent is not gonna wait till turn 3 or turn 4 to make their first play. They're gonna be, if they have an at all reasonable hand, putting you on pressure immediately, and you know, then you're in a situation where the cards you've kept in your opening hand aren't gonna do anything unless you draw specific other cards to allow you to get to the point to use them. So it's a tempting hand to keep because it does stuff, but you may not always be able to do that stuff.
That's true. And of course, sometimes the top of the deck just delivers.
Sometimes it does. I mean, and that's, you know, that's always
nice.
nice.
I myself made a very loose keep in a modern PTQ recently. It was pretty loose. It was on 5 cards, so I get some points for being a little looser than I probably should have been. But the keep was Plains, Tectonic Edge, Bolt, Snapcaster, Snapcaster.
All right.
That's one of my looser ones.
Can't cast any of my spells.
Yep. We won that game.
Yeah.
Didn't deserve it. Didn't deserve it.
Just flip the steam vents and it's all good.
Exactly. Turn 1 steam vents, go.
Yeah. And
I was just trying to, our director, rudeness. I'm trying to relate with my stories.
When the option is going to 4 cards or making a loose keep, I think a lot of people
make the loose keep. I'm saying it's probably still wrong. Yeah. That's coming from someone who made the loose keep and still won. Fortunately, justice prevailed. I did lose the match.
All is well.
Happy ending to every story.
So we see, is that a volcanic strength at the front of Lance's hand?
I think so, yes.
Looks like it might be.
And a Hellrider.
Tap land and then a mountain from Lance.
Looks like
another
2
tap
reckoners.
land from Jeff.
So this is a slow hand for Lance.
Looks like a pretty good hand for Jeff, though. I saw a Searing Spear, I saw a Liliana, a Pillar of Flame, and a Farseek. So lots of cheap spells, lots of ways to interact.
Oh, that Pillar of Flame just got a lot worse, but that Liliana just got a lot better.
Yeah, maybe not a lot of ways to interact. And
wow. We can't Liliana this turn. We had all tap lands. That's so rough.
So missing, well, not missing his 3rd land drop, but missing. Having 3 mana on turn 3 to Liliana. This could be very problematic.
We searched out Stomping Grounds. I think we definitely have to go get Overgrown to him here, right?
Yeah, having that extra black source to be able to both Liliana and Abrupt Decay, or Liliana and Ultimate Price seems...
I think just not getting a mountain on the board is pretty good.
Oh, he didn't have a mountain?
Yeah, he just searched up a mountain. I mean, I agree, like, he needs black mana here to be able to play Ultimate Price and Liliana, but...
Oh, I didn't even think
he has Huntmaster in his hand, and he just added a mountain to the board, which makes the Volcanic Strength way better than it was a second ago.
Yeah, so now that 4/4 is unblockable, and
he's going to be backed up the whole way.
Yeah,
Lance has Reckoners for days.
Jeff's got the kind of cards that that he wants in this matchup, but that Volcanic Strength is really gonna cause problems for him. Oh, or not. So
Rootbound Crag.
I think we're gonna see both a Searing Spear and a Liliana.
Yep. Yeah. That Rootbound Crag, or should I say, that untapped land off the top was definitely a big game for Jeff.
Yeah, very fortunate, allowing him to clear the whole board off right there.
That said, he's not done yet. Lance has multiple Reckoners in his hand, and Jeff's leaning on Huntmasters and Pillars, which are the worst solutions to Boros Reckoner.
Yeah, lots of increments of 2 damage against a 3/3 with Boros Reckoner's ability is not ideal. So we'll see how effective this Liliana is, and I imagine another. Well.
Whoa! No, Lance, no! Don't do it. Just play the Reckoner.
Right. Well, Liliana goes down. Getting your Reckoner down before they get their Huntmaster down is fairly important.
I think Lance was wary of having to pitch a card to the Liliana, but honestly, like, his hand's so good and his cards are so slow, he wasn't going to need them all anyway.
Yeah, so we see another Searing Spear drawn.
Oh no, Lance.
This is...
Lance needs some lessons from the school of Sullivan, I think, here, which those aren't supposed to be going to the creatures just yet.
Yeah, so this is a case where, 2 turns in a row, Lance chose to remove a threat of his opponents as opposed to developing his own board. And those removal spells can be used later. You might lose some resources in the process, you might take some damage, but Boros Reckoner being on the table, every additional turn it's on the table is a turn it can be attacking. So Lance is giving away a lot of damage in this situation. Now the Boros Reckoner is coming down, really should have been there for a couple turns by now, or could have been there for a couple turns by now. Is that a Keswick Wolf Run on Jeff's side?
Also worth noting is, Lance's Reckoner was matching up very favorably against Jeff's threats, like a Liliana on 1, a Huntmaster and a Wolf. These are cards that Boros Reckoner just beats up on. There's really no effective way to guard against them beyond Abrupt Decay, just straight up removing the Reckoner, which is just the trade that card's going to make 100% of the time anyway, regardless of when you cast it.
Yeah, so like you were saying, in the situation where he had Liliana in play and Lance chose the Searing Spirit, playing Reckoner and then attacking it with Reckoner, really Liliana's not going to live no matter what way that exchange ends up happening. So now an Olivia comes down. So we saw that card really dominate game one.
Yeah, and it's got much more room to breathe here. I think we're going to see Jeff taking this one in a landslide, and it could have very easily gone Lance's way in similar fashion, I think, with just streaming Reckoners into the board.
Yeah. Yep, and we see Reckoner become a vampire so that Liliana, or not Liliana, Olivia can use her second ability to take that whenever Jeff wants.
It's true, Garrick, so now he's got decisions to make.
Ping 3 times, take a creature, make a Garrick. Yeah, this is a very good spot for Jeff. At 17 life, it's getting tough to see how Lance comes back, unless he boarded in those Blasphemous Acts.
Jeff's going ahead and checking to see how Huntmaster's Flip is going to interact with the Reckoner. I think passing here is a reasonable line. You're going to go ahead and flip, you'll lose a wolf, but you will get to kill one Reckoner and then untap and steal the other.
Yeah. Does he have, 6 mana. So, Ravager of the Fell's just getting a read from the judge, it looks like.
Oh, he's declining to deal the 2 damage in order to keep a wolf.
Huh.
That's interesting. I mean, I imagine his plan is to zap. I would guess he could just be going for the steal this turn. Just steal the one he already zapped. That's fine too.
Yeah.
It is a May. You don't have to complete both sides of Ravager's ability, as opposed to the other side where if you gain the life, you have to put the wolf into play.
Right. The Ravager side, I think, says deal 2 damage to target player and up to 1 creature they control.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
Something optional and ambiguous. That's all we really know.
And Zealot comes down. Boros Reckoner gets taken. This is looking very bad for Lance here. And we see a Vraska drawn, which Jeff is very excited to play. I'm not sure what it's... Okay. It's going to kill a Reckoner.
I think there's a temptation to, when you see just an easy solution to a problem, you're really happy about it, even if you had some more convoluted lines available.
Yeah, the Olivia, the Olivia gives him a lot of other options against creatures. So, he chose to go with Vraska. Looks like Lance drew another land here. Yeah. There's a Hellrider and a couple other cards.
We're seeing how punishing these Hellriders can be, especially when we led with the burn spells instead of the creatures. The game just staggered farther and farther back with our opponent gaining more and more opportunities to make plays. The concept of initiative, which is obviously more present in games like chess, but in Magic, it still presents itself mostly in what we call tempo.
Yeah.
And in this game, Lance had the lead. He was the one presenting pressure and threats, and as soon as that changed over to Jeff, which it did the turn Lance played Searing Spear, Jeff was left with a wolf token. He got to untap, make another Huntmaster. All of a sudden, Lance was the one on the back foot.